Legal practitioner Koto Ampal says the Right to Information Bill, if passed in its current state, will constitute a major obstruction to the rights of citizens to access information held by public officials.
The bill as it stands will constitute a major obstruction to the citizens' right to information held by public bodies if it is not amended and is passed in the current state.
My name is Stephen Anti, and we will look at the right to information and the closure of the Adomi Bridge for repair works. This is today's big story. Now, legal practitioner Koto Ampal says the Right to Information Bill, if passed in its current state, will constitute a major obstruction to the rights of citizens to access information held by public officials. He blamed politicians from both the NPP and NDC government for lack of interest since 2002 in passing the bill.
The bill as it stands will constitute a major obstruction to the citizens' right to information held by public bodies if it is not amended and is passed in the current state. And because of that, I want to say something that may be a bit surprising. Some of us would not want this bill to be passed into law. We are better off with a right to information bill that is consistent with the provisions of the Constitution of Ghana and also international human rights norms and standards. But you can have a law that is titled a right to information law, but the contents of which are crafted in such a way as to be an obstruction to the citizens' right of access to information. And we in the Ghana Coalition on the Right to Information believe that the contents of this bill are crafted as to obstruct the right to information. And because of that, we would call upon the general public, especially members of the media fraternity and also civil society organizations, to take a hard look at the contents of the bill and advise themselves as to whether this is the kind of law we want or whether Ghana deserves something better. This bill has been in the making since 2002, 2003, and we have persistently, consistently brought our concerns to the attention of the powers that be it the NPP government or the NDC government. This bill has struggled across both parties, so you can't say that the problem is with a particular party. It is with the politicians. They don't want a law on the right to information that will open up the processes of governance and ensure accountability and transparency. That is why we have a bill of this nature.
Well, we'll be back to speak to the Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa on some of the issues that civil society groups are campaigning for. We'll be right back. This is today's big story. Now, civil society organizations, including the Media Foundation for West Africa, leading a campaign to promote the passage of the implementation of access to information legislation in Africa has urged countries without an ATI legislation such as Ghana to take urgent steps to have the law in place. In a joint statement issued after its meeting in Johannesburg on March 5th and 6th, the group stated that countries yet to pass access to information laws should use the standard model law on access to information developed by Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Expression and Access to Information in Africa. The CSOs, among others, called on other African countries that have not yet passed the national access to information laws to take urgent steps to do so, using as a standard the model law on access of information developed by the Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Expression. So I have with me in the studio the Executive Director of the West Africa Media Foundation for West Africa, Mr. Suleimana Barima, for a little chat. It's great to have you on today's big story.
Thank you for having me.
So what I'm hearing, the vibe I'm getting from an astute lawyer like Akoto Ampao is that perhaps it's better not to pass a law now in its current state. Are civil society groups like yours worried about specific elements of the bill for which you also wish that it's not passed immediately?
Well, yes, indeed. And Ms. Akoto Ampao is a very, very prominent member of the Right to Information Coalition here in Ghana, which is a coalition of civil society organizations that have come together to advocate for the passage of a right to information law. I think the fundamental principle is not just having a law in place, but a good law. Access to information laws around the world, the purpose is to, open up information to citizens. And that is the only way citizens can participate in governance, can contribute to discussions, and also, have the necessary information to shape their views and their thinking on various issues.
And so what, the Ghana bill in its current structure is not like that?
Yes, it's quite clear that so far, I don't think that our governments, both MPP and NDC, have demonstrated any commitment to genuinely providing or giving the citizenry access to information that is backed by law. Because the provisions as they are now in the current bill, I think even if it's passed, it's going to even restrict the space for freedom of information that we currently
Can you talk about these specific elements that you're referring to? I mean, I seem not to understand exactly what it is, really. Well,
you see, there are quite a number of areas that are of concern. One is even the time that it takes, or the time that is allowed for an information officer to provide the requested information to a person.
21 days.
Every standard legislation, if you look at the Sierra Leone one, for example, talks about 15 days, and where the information is quite voluminous, and the officer who is supposed to provide information thinks he needs additional time, he or she can request for additional 15 days. But in the case of Ghana, we are talking somewhere, 90 days. Again, the standard law provides that the fundamental principle is to have an information commissioner who becomes like, let's say we have a commissioner or the chairman of the Commission for Human Rights, the chairman of the Electoral Commission. So we should have a commissioner who is in charge of making sure that the law works in the way it is fashioned to work. In the case of Ghana, we have a situation where if you request for information and an officer denies the information, you have the right to appeal to the Attorney General. And don't forget, the Attorney General is an officer of government. And when the Attorney General refuses to provide the information, then you can appeal to the Supreme Court. Now, the question is, how many of us can go through these processes in order to get information? The other thing which is quite difficult to understand is a whole provision that seems to say, or seeks to say, information belonging to the presidency is excluded from the types of information that people can have access to. And it's so broad that, so if I want to know how many people are working at the presidency, it's something that is at the presidency, so it's excluded. If I want to know, anything about the presidency is excluded from, the right to access information. And we think that these are provisions that are really non-progressive, and if you look at Sierra Leone, you look at Liberia, you look at Nigeria, and even recently Cote d'Ivoire, with all their problems, the parliament has passed a law that is so progressive.
So you are mooting or pushing that the bill in its current state be reviewed. Have you made such representation to Parliament already?
Indeed. the RTI coalition presented what was called a zero draft, which was to take the bill in entirety and then review it and make the necessary suggestions and recommendations to the government. But in all cases, it goes, then it will come back with the provisions that, or the recommendations that were made, taken out. And so you wonder whether there's a genuine commitment to have a law that seeks to, open up the space for access to information for Ghanaians, or it's just that, well, other governments are having a law called access to information, so let us also have something like that in place. And I think that is what is currently happening. And therefore, that is the reason why, there is that call that, well, there shouldn't be, it shouldn't be passed as it is. We are better off not having it than to have what currently is before.
But of course,
government.
you at the African level of discussions have said that countries who do not have ATI laws must put it in place. So where do you stand now? I mean, here you are making a suggestion that the Ghana's bill in its current state is not good enough.
Yeah.
Now here you are also saying that the country must go ahead and put in place a right to information law. I mean, that's confusing, isn't it?
No, it is not at all. We are saying that it's long overdue. Ghana should have had this law in place. I've just told you that Sierra Leone, last year had passed their law. Côte d'Ivoire in 2013 December passed a law. What we are saying is that, there's steps to take to get this law in place. I don't think that it's going to be that difficult and complex. Significantly, the RTI coalition has offered, to review the entire document and to make the necessary recommendation. And we've not veered off completely because we are using the model law as the standard. And this is a law. This is a law that has been accepted and adopted by the African Union. And it was drafted by the Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Expression and Access to Information. And so the standard is quite clear. There's no difficulty at all when it comes to the steps that needs to be taken in order to have a very good law in place.
So let's take a closer look at examples like the U.S.'s Bradley, Manning, and Assange and Snowden. These were very, very, deeds that were described as, some of them were described as traitors and described as heroes. But America has a freedom of information law, and yet this happened. So the freedom of right to information law does not exactly shield anybody.
Well, I think essentially the point that is to be made is if I'm a citizen of this country and I want to know, for example, Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, how much money was made and how much was used to fund the board. Or if I take any other state organization and I say I want to know how much goes into running the board allowances and so on, it's something that should be given to me. But that does not mean that having an access to information law in place entitles me to go to the Ghana Armed Forces and I say, I'm requesting for information on the country's defense strategy. Or I go to national security and I say, can you disclose to me how your operatives, get information in terms of security and crime within the country? They are legitimate exceptions. And we are not saying, look, Ghana must have something that is unique. We are all operating within the system. There are legitimate exemptions that we are saying can be guaranteed. And of course, as I said, we have examples around. If we were talking about the Americas or the Swedens or the Denmarks, we would say, well, these are advanced countries. They have mechanisms in place to track and to do this and to do that. But we have countries that we would say we are better off than, our democracy is far advanced than them. We have a government that will come to say, we are, committed to transparent and accountable governance, and there cannot be anything, done to claim that a government is accountable and transparent when the same government is refusing to have a very, very good law in place in terms of access to information. And let me just add that Ghana is a member of the OGP, the Open Governance Partnership Initiative. One of the commitments that Ghana made in its country action plan was to have an access to information law in place within a 2-year period. April this year would be 1 year when Ghana actually sent in that country action plan. I don't know if it's going to be happening within the 1 year that is left. If you have a government that says, I'm committed to running an open government, You know, what can be more open than having a system in place where there is a legislation that legitimizes citizens, you know, right to ask and to get information on how governance is being run on their behalf.
Lawyer Kutuampao said, among other things, that the NDC and MPP have not shown enough commitment since 2002. What kind of commitment are you expecting? The draft, the bill is already in Parliament, and there have been various negotiations and deliberations over its passage. What again do you want?
No, I mean, we are making a simple argument that, look, there's a standard adopted by the African Union. Ghana is a member of the African Union. This standard legislation on access to information, you know, was drafted by the special rapporteur of the African Union. It's not, you know, a Gambian person or another country's citizen that we are talking about. This is a special rapporteur of the African Union Commission. Apart from that, there are various pieces of legislation that can guide us as we move along. Nigeria has had one in place. In fact, the one adopted by Sierra Leone, you know, is touted as the 5th strongest in the world. You know, not in Africa, but in the world. So if you have countries that, you know, comparatively are struggling, you know, are going through post-war issues and are willing to adopt laws that are very good, opens up the systems to citizens, then Ghana shouldn't have this problem that we are having.
Right, Mr. Suleiman Barima, we're grateful. Suleiman Barima is Executive Director of the West Africa Foundation for... Media Foundation for West Africa, I beg your pardon. My name is Stephen Anti, and this is today's big story. We'll be right back. Now, the Adomi Bridge was on Monday closed down for major repair works, according to the Ghana Highway Authority. The repair will last for 2 years. Several passengers were Monday stranded at Senchi in the eastern region due to a broken down ferry at Akrade. Both ferries are to convey cargo and passengers across the river. Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for Barima Osei Asare says the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. time frame for the use of the ferry will be reviewed after a week's observation. Osei Asare now joins us on the phone now for a chat on this. It's great to have you on today's big story, sir.
Good evening.
So now the situation there is such that people are being stranded. They've been stranded all day. Is this going to be the norm for the next 2 years?
The issue is that either those who plan to do this don't respect those who are going to use the bridge, or they are just playing with their lives. Seriously, since morning, I can tell you for a fact that there was no any seat for anybody to either stand or rest or anything. As you are speaking now, it's very, very hard wind going on here with lightning and a series of hard wind. As we are speaking now, I can tell you that there's hundreds of cars making stranded. We have people with 6-month-old babies who are also being stranded here. So I don't know what those people are. I can tell you for a fact that we cannot even point out to any of the engineers or any of the officials, with the exception of the MP of the area, Honorable Osei Asare. As we are speaking now, I've been kept with some space in an uncompleted washroom. Now we are trying to hide ourselves. Apart from that, there are some hundreds and thousands of people out there being beaten by the rain. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear a lot of noise in your background. Is this coming from people who are stranded? And what is the situation really like right now?
The issue is that, yes, most people are stranded. As we are speaking now, we are in a washroom packed with more than 50, getting to 100 people packed in somewhere and trying to avoid the rain. Actually, nobody can go out. I don't know the situation at the outside. And as before we were coming in, as we are speaking now, I'm wet. Seriously wet. Everything on me is wet. Those outside, I don't know what they are going to do. And you ask whether the situation is going to be from today onwards, or I don't know. The issue is that unless the officials come and tell us something, but the most important thing on the ground is that they did not respect the people who are going to use this place. I don't know what to do. Because those who are going to Volta region, those who are going to the Northern Volta and others, they are all stranded here. And the issue they said 6 o'clock, so we don't know. Around 6:05, we saw some tape going. I don't know whether now, because of the rain, they have stopped. And the way the rain is, I don't think that they can continue. Right. And the issue is that if those cars who are stranded here can turn to Accra, or they cannot even maybe afford the hotels to buy, they cannot get any place to. I mean, I don't know if those in charge can come and talk something.
Right. Thank you very much. Barima Kwejo Nyako is a resident. We're now joined on the line by Thomas Ampim Nyako, who is the DC for Esu Jamai. Now, the ferry was to have closed at 6 p.m. Is that the case?
Yes. Thank you very much. That was the understanding we had from Highways Authority, and I indicated to them that that period will not work for us. I also followed up with an official letter to the Chief Executive of Ghana Highways, copied the minister to tell them that we would want them to extend the operational period to 10 p.m. and also for them to start early at 4 a.m. because most of our traders will want to get to Accra early enough. By 6 o'clock, they want to be in Accra and start with their business. So if the ferry is going to start operating at 6 a.m., it is going to be difficult for them to cross in good time and then get to Accra also in good time for them to do their business. No, but what they told us was that we should operate it for 1 week and see how it goes. As it were, I have been vindicated because on the very first day, you see that it is already past 6 p.m. and there are a good number of vehicles here waiting to cross. I am currently at the center part of the ferry site, and there is torrential rain. It is very windy, and all these people are here. I just had a discussion on phone with the director of bridges, who is also here on site, and he has indicated to me that they want to extend the time a little to maybe 7 or 8 p.m. so most of the people here can cross. So I agree. The first day hasn't been too good because one of the ferries broke down. I'm sure that they will work on it hopefully tomorrow. I don't know how soon that can be fixed. But that has contributed to worsening the situation here. Right. But like it was said earlier on, it is very, very, very imperative that we all cooperate for the bridge to be repaired, because I happen to see pictures of what is happening under the bridge, and trust me, we cannot wait any longer. So it is in everybody's interest that government has secured this funding, enough funding to repair the bridge. And alternatively, government has also provided these 2 ferries to allow for travelers. Right. As I speak to you currently, the assembly is going around with some announcements. We have an alternative route at Impoku for those who are not crossing with vehicles. So passengers who want to cross can go to Atimpoku and then cross via a boat. We have some speed boats there that can take them across to the other side. There are waiting vehicles, trotro and taxis, also on the other side to take them to Japan, Sikuma, and Num, and those other communities. So these are the alternative arrangements that have been made. You also mentioned, sir, that it's raining. We've also gathered from a resident that it's raining heavily. Have you made any adequate arrangement to for protection for those who are traveling, traders with children and passengers who are waiting in the rain to cross? As I speak with you now, the police commander he just passed by my vehicle and he spoke in rain. There are a number of police personnel here. We have put some of them on the other side to their patrolling. You'll see the police vehicles all around. So their safety is being worked on. The police are all over. to make sure
No, I'm talking about protection from the rain. I mean, if the police officers are soaked and the travelers are soaked in rain, is there any arrangement to give a temporary relief for those who are standing in the rain?
You see, this ferry arrangement, you see that it is basically for vehicles. So most of the passengers are already seated in their vehicle.
Okay.
Those who are outside are a few, the hawkers, mainly the hawkers and the traders around. As for vehicle passengers, you are expected to be in your vehicle. Your vehicle will drive onto the ferry, and then you cross over. So for the travelers, they are not soaked as I speak now. Those who are soaked are mainly the hawkers and the traders around. But the assembly has also created some sheds. If you come here, you see a very big market shed here. We have roofed part of it. We are on it. By tomorrow, the whole structure would have been roofed, and that will serve as a hiding place, so to say, for people in case they have to face this extreme weather situation.
Right.
So that is what is being done. I must admit that our preparedness hasn't been 100% because there was the need to close down the bridge immediately and then start work. All the arrangements have not been fully made. A toilet facility that is under construction is not fully completed. The contractor tells us he will finish within a week. And all this. And so there are a few challenges. We believe within a week or two we'll be able to normalize the situation here.
Right. Thank you very much. Thomas Ampim-Nyako is the DC for Isiojamai District, bringing us up to speed with the situation there at the Adomi Bridge, which is shut down, and there are challenges with ferrying people across the Volta River. My name is Stephen Enti, and we'll break here and we'll return with the interactive segment. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's now time for the interactive segment. And hello.
Hi, Steve.
You
I
look
hope you
good.
had a good weekend.
I did. I rested. And
okay.
I had a nasty experience with the police. You don't want to know. So what's trending?
Metro Boss has apologized for not warning Ghanaians ahead of time of the rainfall on Independence Day. But the question many are asking is, does that apology really change the challenges they may really be faced with at the metro services?
Okay, so let's hear what other people and what they have to say.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Right, so this is where we get interactive right here on JN Interactive. Stay with us. You can join our conversation via our social media platforms, facebook.com/joynews on TV. You could also send us a tweet via twitter.com/joynews on TV. The handles are @joynews on TV and #JN Interactive GH, or send us email through joynewsim@multitvworld.com, and let's all get the conversation going right here. So the Ghana Meteorological Agency has officially apologized to President Mahama and indeed all Ghanaians for their inability to warn the nation of an approaching storm, which marks the beauty of the 57th Independence Anniversary Parade. A statement from the Director General of the Meteo Agency, Group Captain Stephen Komla, retired, apologized also to the school children who were drenched by the rains. Although some personnel from the Meteorological Office had spoken about the situation, the statement by the Director General said those who granted the media interviews were not on duty and could therefore not have known the details of what the actual situation was. Here is a sound clip from one of the interviews.
The all stations whose email addresses we have, we mail to them, and others whose fax numbers we have, we fax this warning to them. Unique FM, they were their program this morning. They were making allegations that Meteo services have not given warning and they should have done that, blah blah blah. But they made me so annoyed.
You issued a warning earlier today. And this warning, you communicated it to the government to be aware of the fact that it was going to rain this morning.
You know what we do is NADMO is our maybe main center where we fax all weather warnings to, giving weather forecast to.
Yeah, so Mr. Ajman, as far as the service is concerned, this was duly communicated to NADMO to be aware of the fact that it was going to rain.
Yes, and you can cross-check from NADMO if you like.
So how do you respond to allegation that you failed to do your work?
That would be that would be baseless. The one weather forecast we sent around 3 a.m. today. I'm just reporting to you. I'm here to check what we issued yesterday evening. But the 3 a.m. forecast we issued this morning clearly, stated it. And the weather warning we issued this morning also stated that. The weather will be variably cloudy and sunny over southern Ghana with isolated rain or thundery showers over mid-Volta, eastern region, and the coastal strip.
So the voice you just listened to is that of Mula Tachusiame. He is a senior meteorologist at the Meteo Department. So did the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, indeed get the warning at 3 a.m.? And what did they do about the warning? Well, I have been joined online by Sylvester Azantilo, who is the Deputy National Coordinator in charge of administration at NADMO, and he is going to be talking us through that issue. Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thanks for joining us. And first, can you confirm to us if you indeed got a weather alert from the Meteo office at about 3 a.m. on 6th March?
Well, not to my knowledge. We got the alert at 7:53 a.m.
Let me just try to get it clear. Is that when you saw it, or that is when actually the alert came through?
That was when we got the alert from Metro.
I see. So granted, the warning came later in the day. What preparations did you do? Did you actually put in place to ensure the parade went ahead successfully?
Well, what happened was not something strange because we are all aware of the climate change. We've got a whole department in terms of climate change, and we were not very surprised like that rain at the time we were not expecting. That's why it even rained in the upper regions in January when hitherto it never happened. So now climate change has come, it's with us, and it's real. It can happen at any time.
All right, so I'd like you to do this for us. I would like you to listen to an officer of the fire service who was working with the ambulance service about the challenge they faced on the day, and they will seek your reaction to that. So please listen for us.
We don't have much. We have about 20, 25. But usually we have about 70 to 80 during the rehearsals. But I think today the weather is very cool for them, and I think we don't have much casualty as compared to the rehearsals.
Hello, sir. Did you hear what the fire attendant said?
No, I didn't hear you.
Okay. He spoke about the fact that they were challenged. They did not have enough blankets on that day. Usually they would have gone with about 70 blankets, but that day they had just over 20 blankets, about 23 or so. Blankets to help cover those who were cold and shivering and all that.
Oh. Actually, like, as I've already told you, none of us was expecting that bad weather or any heavy downpour, especially in March. And so the few blankets that were there were made available only for people who would collapse during the parade. There could have been enough blankets for everybody who was at the Independence Square. You can imagine the number of bales of blankets that would have been made available if that would have had to make available if we were to cover everybody who went to the Independence Square. We only made available blankets that were going to take care of people who are the casualties. And not just fact, we were only expecting people who normally would have during the parade and all that. That's it.
I'm trying to find out. You said you had the alert at around 7:20 something, right?
7:53.
7:53, and the parade actually started after 7:53. So, couldn't you have sent enough blankets to boost what they already had on the ambulance?
Yeah, this is what I'm telling you. How many blankets would you have expected us to send there? I mean, those people who were at the Independence Square, you know the number of people who were there, and all those who would have needed blankets, who would have needed the whole factory of blankets, if not more, to send there, which is not possible. We didn't have that quantity in the first place. So we sent what was there and just enough to take care of casualties.
In other words, are you suggesting you also are resource challenged?
Come again?
In other words, are you suggesting that you are short of blankets, you did not have enough? That is how come you couldn't even provide?
Definitely, we cannot have more than we should. Because you can imagine the whole of this country, even our budget, if you have to take Ghana's budget, and say we should buy blankets for everybody in Ghana. The country is so hard. What it is it's possible. There can never be anything, efficient for everybody.
But you see, the fireman said that usually you would have about 70 blankets on the ambulance. So how come you couldn't even supplement the rest of the 70 when you had just over 23, just over 20?
Yeah, not just for this one, I'm telling you that the number we had was what we made available. Our stores didn't have more than that, and even if we had anything like that, we were not going to carry everything to the Independence Square. We're just sending enough to take care of the situation of any casualty.
All right.
Even right now, we can't get our stores, and then you get blankets for all of us who will be at the Independence Square. Even now.
Okay, so what do you make out of the apology by the Director General of the Meteo Agency? Was it really necessary?
Well, he apologized because we were not expecting that heavy downpour, and it happened. And as I've said, we were not so surprised because we know of climate change, and we can expect that anytime. So we took the apology of the Director of the Meteo in good faith. And in matter of fact, it's also the whole the resolutions of our security services. I'm very sure that the school children were saved. So that, matter of fact, the heavy would have been better than the scorching sun for the school children.
Okay, so 7:53 wasn't also it enough time to even make provision for the president? At least, didn't you have an idea that he was going to go for the inspection on a rooftop car, so he needed some cover?
Yeah, the message was not heavy downpour. We knew something would happen, maybe a slight drizzle. So no one was expecting that heavy downpour.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for sharing with us your thoughts on the issue, what NADMO could have done to help with more resources and aid for the rainy Independence Day. Right, so we have been asking you, what do you make out of the apology by the Director General of the Meteo Agency? Was it really necessary? Here are some views we gathered in town.
It doesn't change anything. It It doesn't change anything. How many times should we continue apologizing? Anytime you apologize, anytime you apologize, why the right thing needs to be done? So you cannot just hide behind the apology and then we continue. No, things have to be opened up. Then issues have to be discussed.
It's not necessary because the president himself or his cabinet or anybody in charge of the Independence Day, should have in the first place contacted them as to what will be happening, what the outcome will be of the weather. And so for them to apologize later, I don't think it was of any importance. It wasn't necessary at all.
Because if you offend somebody, you have to apologize, irrespective of how the thing goes about, for at least peace to prevail.
I think it's not necessary because even if they are to tell him what will be happening, and later it changes, it will be the same. Yes. So I don't see the reason why they should apologize.
Okay, as a head of state, I've said somebody said something. You, as a worker, you have to render an apology. Despite whether you are faulty or not, you have to render an apology because he was expecting you to give a good result.
I think it's a natural event. So whether he apologizes or not, the technical thing should have been, they should have done their study, then given the forecast that precisely this and that will happen. For me, the time that he had used for the apology should have been used to study the weather forecast so that technical information could be given as against subsequent future events. So that should be done instead of the thing will happen later, then you say, oh, I'm apologizing, because for how many times and for how long would the apology continue? So they should do their homework well and then case closed.
It is no secret that the Meteorological Agency has several challenges, so we've also been asking you if rendering an apology will solve the challenges of the Meteo Agency.
Yeah, it's changed the situation only if they are going to correct their mistake by giving them the right information. You see, because I think the president wasn't aware that the rain will fall. It's about the weather. Yeah, so at least so that they can work on they can do their homework well.
Had the president or the state equipped well the meteorological the department or service, I don't think this would have happened. Okay, and so there's no need for them to apologize to anybody. The nation and then the government should be blamed.
It can't change because, as you said, it cannot change nature. You see, so if something is to be happening and nature one is to say it can never happen. You don't know what God can do, whether it's truly going to come on or not.
Out of 100%, you cannot guarantee 100% certainty. But like their foreign counterparts, they have a situation where even if they predict and it will not happen, you can guarantee yourself that at least 80 to 90% of the forecast will likely come true. So if they lack equipment or technical personnel or whatever, they should reorganize their structure and then put things in place.
The boss of the Meteorological Department was saying that their equipments are not many. And they haven't got, labor, that means people to work with. They haven't got people to work with. So automatically, and they haven't got a straight information like a radio station, whereby Meteorological Department is running a radio station, which anything at all they can get it straight to the consumers or to the people. Or if they haven't got those things, unless they have to pass through other GTV, video, TV, radio news, one of these big line before. But if they go there, they don't allow them to use it as a news, it will be delayed. So the only thing we can do is we have to get them the equipment They needed equipment.
The necessary things to be done there. We have now in the new system, 21st century, we have all type of technology that you can activate to set to know the weather situation in terms of any occasions. But so don't they have those items to search for a weather if they have a program as such as the nation as well? So they need to get the proper arrangements, whatever they need to do to have those implementation where they can get the access to informations. Because to know a weather condition is just on your phone, you tap, you access it. So the explanation is not needed.
Well, so you have been telling us what you think. You think the apology is not really necessary. Well, let's see what you have also been saying on WhatsApp. What have you been telling us about whether it was necessary or not? So Sir Ken says it's not their making, but because they lack resources, experienced personnel, and also some of their allowances have not been paid as of their workers, told Adomi FM on the 6th of March. I say. Right, thank you, Sir Ken, for sharing your thoughts with us on JN Interactive. Nuakwa God Knows Billy says, this will surely be the end result since we failed to equip our agencies with modern logistics that they will work with. That's coming from Nuakwa God Knows Billy. Beggar. Is it Boga? Bogabia? I see. Apology not accepted. Mensa Kunto says they were waiting for BBC and CNN to publish the weather reports, but it came in late. Okay, so Mensa Kunto, that's your opinion. Isaac Brack says, do they work at all? You are in doubt? I see. Okay, so Stephen Akwesi Yaga says, it's their own cup of tea. That's coming from Stephen Akwesi Yaga. Musa Ali Koni says, I thought they initially said they issued a warning prior to the day of the celebrations. Anyway, they still need to be equipped well as an agency. Well, Musa, they actually said on the day, not prior to the day. Emmanuel says, they should have known better. That's coming from Emmanuel, okay? Thank you, Emmanuel. Simon says, no, an apology alone doesn't solve the problem and its future occurrences. Okay. So quickly, let me also shift my attention to Facebook and see what you have also been sharing with us on Facebook. Abwaja Frank Hartman says, what are they running from? It is a fact that most public institutions are ill-resourced, and the Meteo Agency is no exception. The government should, as a matter of rebranding all public institutions, provide logistical support in order to get the best out of these institutions. For the apology, I think it is the usual Ghanaian rhetoric whenever we are confronted with a hidden problem, and so must be treated with the contempt it deserves. God bless our homeland, Ghana. Mensa, okay, I've took yours. So Felix Kweku Jermaine says, ha 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 ha, I can see the man is afraid of losing his job. Stephen Agassi says, it's their own cup of tea. Dilalom Dijonu says, no. And why the need for the apologies when it is obvious they've not been equipped to do their work? Atanga Maxwell thinks that's maturity. Felix Jerry says, they already came out to say how bad their working conditions are. So, where from this apology? Who is forcing him to apologize? That's coming from Flex Kweku Jermaine. Bless I Hashmin says, now what's the problem here? This means that the available logistics are accurate enough to do the work. If not, what kind of apology is this? Francis Doe says, well thought. They have new equipment and hope this does not happen again, because it's a shame on the country for international observers who came to pay homage to national events. Osajifo Yao Dramena says, 10 right when you get to Truth Junction. 10 right group captain retired. Stephen Komla. Okay. Inketia Ishmael says, It's a fact that the Meteor Service of Ghana faces serious logistic and modern technological problems, as previous and current governments have made it a duty to ignore them. No Ghanaian really cares if the Meteor Service is mentioned in the budget or not. It's time we attend to them as people, cause what happened on 6th March was unfortunate. We proudly advertised to the world that Ghana is several years behind the world. Our youthful president, however, could have spared us this disgrace by checking the weather from his phone or iPad. Question: where do the weather forecasts we see on our TVs come from? Simon says, no apology not accepted. Okay, it doesn't solve the problem. Wayne Courage Coin says, get them the appropriate equipment for them to do their work effectively. Ghana Bre. Kobe Maestro says, the Meteo boss has done what's expected of him. The gods are to blame. Kweku Atobi Richard says, come to think of it, I even forgot we have such agency. Anyway, to err is human, but it was a big shame on the part of the Meteorological Agency for not warning Ghanaians. But I think in reality they lack technical know-how. Samora Owusweje says, the Meteo Agency is seriously handicapped in terms of resources, and the earlier they do something, the better. To be frank, all government agencies should be well catered for. Let me quickly just take my last one. It's coming from Senyo Yao Asase, who says, apology well in place, but I still believe their logistical base needs to be looked at, as well as their human resource strength. I believe this is not limited to Meteo alone. There are hundreds of such agencies with dire need of tools and financial resource to work with. Of what use will it be if we keep opening institutions, departments and agencies with no resources to work with? It is a wake-up call, and that's coming from Senyo Yao Asase, who says we should let what happened on the 6th March be a wake-up call for all Ghanaians and government and all stakeholders to ensure that we prevent some of these unfortunate occurrences on such important days. So this is where we draw the curtain. Steve is here and he will help us through what's
what to expect on News at 8 with Israel. The Adomi Bridge, one of Ghana's most iconic landmarks, has finally been closed down to traffic to allow major rehabilitation works. The project, which will last about 22 months, is estimated to cost 13 million euros. A ferry has been deployed to transport vehicles and goods across the lake for the period.
And we shall also shift our focus a bit to mental health in Ghana. And 1 out of every 5 persons in Ghana has a mental disorder. Well, so the acting chief executive of the Ghana Mental Health Authority, Dr. Akwesi Osei, who gave the figure, however, says mental health delivery has not been accorded the same level of attention. And he was actually speaking on the sidelines of a program on the dissemination of key provisions of Ghana's mental health law at Bogatanga in the Upper East region. So at 8 we'll bring you the details of that.
Right, so that's it. My name is Stephen Enti.
My name is Gladys Osei Oredi. We are always grateful for your time.
We're grateful for your time. Good evening.